While I'm telling other people's stories, why don't I tell my own? Because child, I'm a survivor too. But this story time, unlike the others, didn't actually take place in Haiti. This one took place in America. I came to America after the Haitian earthquake in 2010. I had the worst year of my life. The Haitian earthquake hit, then my mother passed away, and then my grandmother passed away. So it was like a hell of a year for me, yeah? Because of all of the unexpected tragedies, I had to move around a lot because my father could not afford to take care of me and my sister. I don't know if I should tell the story about how after my mother passed away, like shortly after, there was a spirit that came in my dreams dressed as her that looked exactly like her every night, and its sole purpose was to unalive me. It would try so many different tactics. And this was like a week after my mother passed away. All my dreams would be like lucid. So basically I wouldn't know if I'm dreaming or not. And she would come to me, or her spirit would come to me and would convince me to like take her hand and to come with her, and would convince me that I'm not happy where I am and that I would be so much happier and safer where she's at. And well, you guys, I almost took her hands quite a few times. And the reason why this was scary was because this was a constant dream, you guys. This escalated so much so that it actually started to affect my waking life, because I started sleepwalking. I was 11, you guys. Basically, this one time I fell asleep, but this time it's like broad daylight outside. I was taking a nap. Same scenario. Mother comes to me in my dream, and just this time she's really convincing me to take her hand. And at this point, you guys, it is starting to work, because at this point I really miss my mom, and life was just not going well for me. So I was really willing to do it. So I go to take her hand, but it seems like the more I reach, the further she gets. So I get up and I start following her. What I didn't realize is that I actually had gotten up in real life and started walking. And the way that the houses were set up in Boston at the time, I lived on the second floor of the house. So I woke up, exited the apartment, walked down the stairs, opened the door, and walked directly into moving traffic. Now keep in mind, you guys, I am not conscious for any of this. As I'm walking towards the street, there was a Jeep, and I will never forget this, coming full speed. You guys, that car missed me by a hair. And the only thing that saved me, at the time, somebody was coming home, and they saw me literally walking into moving traffic, and they were like, "What the fuck?" They thought I was gonna unalive myself. People were yelling at me, and I really did not hear anything. I did not reach consciousness until whoever literally tackled me away from the car. Somebody literally ran just in time and tackled me out of the way, and that car missed me by literally a hair. And then from there, that's when my father started taking precautions, because obviously something's not right. I definitely have more, so I'm back. At this point, I feel like, are you really a member of the Charles family if somebody or something or a loup-garou didn't try to eat you? My turn, because I definitely wasn't exempt, even with a protection spell. In the last story, I told how my mother's spirit, or something that looked like my mother's spirit, was trying to unalive me right after she passed. This story time is when this old lady was going to take a trip to Haiti for me because she had beef with my father from when they were young. This all started after my mother passed away. Again, my father could not afford to take care of us. So I lived in Boston at some point, but I had to leave Boston. So I ended up going to Georgia. So in that house in Georgia was the mom, the dad, their two sons, the daughter, my sister, myself, the grandmother. So about 8 of us living in this house. It was an emergency situation, so I had to unfortunately stay in that house. Let me just reiterate by saying that the mom and the dad definitely were not terrible people at all. They were really cool, and I even started to build a relationship with the kids that lived there. But the grandmother in the house always made me and my sister's lives a little bit uncomfortable. When I say uncomfortable, this grandmother was a fucking cunt. And mind you, at the time, I'm 12. This old lady would threaten me like I am competition. One quick example I could think of is this one time I came from school and she asked me what day it was. So I told her, "Oh, today's Monday." And I said I only remember that because I went to school today. And she took that, twisted my words. I was 12 years old, you guys. Twisted my words, went to the parents of the house and said that I said that she was illiterate and that she never went to school, and that good thing I went to school today, and that's how I was able to know what day it was. Y'all, that was not what I said, and it definitely wasn't my intention. The mom and the dad always thought I was being an asshole because they would believe the grandmother. And she would do this to me often. And my 12-year-old ass, what would I do? I would just cry because how the fuck can I win against this old lady? Now, this is happening January of 2011. So I ended up having to fly to New York because I had to do some paperwork for immigration. And my father lived in New York. And this is when things officially got freaky. First night that I'm in New York, my father gets a call from my grandfather. My grandfather lives in Haiti. And he's on the phone with my dad and he's telling him like, yo, you know somebody's planning on unaliving your daughter, right? Mind you, my granddad called my dad in the middle of the night. He's like, yo, I just had the dream and somebody is trying to unalive your daughter. My father's just waking up and he's like, what? Like who? For what? Like he's confused. My grandfather says, you know what? Don't worry about it. I just thought you should know. So in the morning when my father woke up, he called my granddad to ask him how should they go about this situation. My grandfather then told my father that he believes and that he knows that this is the work of the grandmother. Now, keep in mind, you guys, keep in mind that this grandmother was absolutely no stranger to voodoo, and she was actually quite psychopathic. Shorty did voodoo for fun. She literally sacrificed her own son. Let that sink in. 2 of them. So after my grandfather tells my father that it was her, my dad is like, oh my God. And my grandfather's like, well, why would you let your daughter live with somebody who you know you got beef with? And then you know you got beef with her and she's wicked. Well, let's just say that it was between me and the grandmother. And honey, I am still here. I am still alive and well. Yeah, they found my underwear, her suitcase and everything. Like she was gonna take a trip out there for me. If you want to hear how that story ended or her story ended, please go ahead, like for part 2. Okay, so I just woke up and here's the part 2. So after my father gets the call from Haiti, like, yo, somebody's really planning on taking your daughter's life. Obviously, my dad's in a frenzy because he's also in America, so there's not really much he can do here. So on the phone with my grandfather said he was going to take care of it, whatever that means. Keep in mind, y'all, I am 12 years old. So say I got to New York on a Tuesday, right? My dad got the call on Wednesday morning, and the grandma was planning on taking her trip to Haiti on Friday. And once she gets on that plane to go to Haiti by Friday, it is over for me. So think fast, work fast, figure it out. My father's in my face asking me all types of questions like, were you disrespectful to her? Like, what is going on? Like, why would she want to do this to you? Like, I mean, I know we have beef, but like, I didn't think she was going to take it out on you. And I'm just looking at my dad like freaking out like, nigga, I'm 12. Like, am I going to die? So now I gotta tell y'all the story from my POV as a 12-year-old because I really did not figure out what happened until I got older. It's still Wednesday, but around 6 p.m. I get a call from my sister who was still living in that house in Georgia at the time. And basically she says that, yo, the grandmother just got sick out of nowhere and she had to be rushed to the hospital. She is hospitalized right now. It was like a weird moment of relief. I really felt like God was protecting me and that it wasn't my time. The trip was Friday. It is Wednesday. It would have been done for me. But now she's in the hospital, so maybe I still got a chance. And my dad is like updating me like, also, I come from a very blunt family. Like, they never really protected me from anything. So my father literally told me that somebody was out to kill me and they were trying to stop them, but there's a possibility that they might not be able to. So when he told me that she was in the hospital, I was like, oh, well, praise God. And my father tells me, you better hope and pray that everything goes in order. And mind y'all, my father's talking to me like it's my fault. Like he would rather be doing anything with his Wednesday than to be fixing this right now. Whole time, my dad's on the phone checking in with the people in Georgia, trying to see like, yo, what's tea with grandma? Is she still kicking? The grandmother gets to the hospital and basically the doctors tell her like, yo, we're gonna have to just keep you overnight because for the life of the doctors, they could not figure out what was wrong with her. There was nothing wrong with this lady. Her findings could not find shit. But there you have this old lady screaming from excruciating pain. So they hospitalized her and the next day it just got worse. She winded up in a coma overnight. And on Friday, the day that she had to leave for Haiti, she was on life support at that point, and they had to, unfortunately, pull the plug. Now, she already had her suitcase packed for Haiti. After she passed away, they went back to the house to, unpack her stuff. And child, when they opened that suitcase, they found my underwear, my bras, my shirts, just in case, And they found some of my sister's stuff as well, if I'm not mistaken. Rest in peace to her, but that could have went so bad. For me. So while I'm on the topic of telling stories, I feel inspired to tell another one. If you don't know me, hey, I'm Alien and I tell stories on my page. I really tell my business on this app, right? And I realized, y'all, I've been escaping death ever since I was born. This is the time that I was gonna in the Haitian earthquake, but I didn't. I escaped. I survived. I don't know if you guys know, but in 2010, Haiti had a really, really bad earthquake where it killed off like 200,000 people and like millions of people were injured. And Haiti till this day is still trying to recover from that earthquake. Well, I was there. So the day that the earthquake hit, I was in school. I remember that day I had gotten in trouble and I had like 500 lines to write. And mind y'all, school usually let us out at 3 at the time. So I'm in class, chilling, minding my business, and I'm looking forward to after school. Like, I actually did like staying after school. Because I'm going to go and play with my friends in the yard. Like, it's going to be cool. It's going to be good. Even though I have these 500 lines to write, it's fine. Because it's like 2:30 or 2:15. The loudspeaker, they're like, oh, Nayla, it's time for you to go home. Your transport is here. I'm like, what do you mean my transport is here? Nigga, school's not over until 3. And like, he's pissing me off because you know you're supposed to come and get me at 3. Not 2:15, not 2:30, like 3. So I pack up my stuff and I was a rude kid. Yeah, you was gonna hear my mouth. So I go to the guy, the bus driver, and I'm like, yo, like, school's not over. Why would you pick me up this early? And he's like, I have something to do, girl. Just get in the car and let's just go. So I get in the car and he starts driving us home. Now, it was me and a couple of other neighborhood kids that were in his car. He drops us off. I get home safe. And obviously, it's time to start my after-school regime. I have these 500 lines to write. I better get on it. As soon as I walked in the house, my grandmother fed me and I had just got done eating. I literally finished eating. I had the plate in my hand. I walked to the kitchen to put the plate down. And the second I put the plate down, it literally felt like 20/20 vision. Because absolutely everything around me started trembling. And y'all, it was so loud. I don't know if you guys ever lived through any natural disasters. It is absolute chaos. We had an outdoor kitchen. So I was in the outdoor kitchen while my grandmother and my aunt were inside of the house. I thought at the time in my 11-year-old brain that this was the end of the world because I had no idea what was happening. Everything was so loud. Everything was shaking. My father didn't come home yet, so I was incredibly worried about him. This is when I went into my neighbor's rooftop and I was able to see Haiti. And I just can't stress how loud everything was again. There's smoke everywhere. You can't see anything. So I walk out of the neighborhood, my neighborhood, to get a better view or a clearer view of what was happening around me. And when I exited my neighborhood, it was absolutely traumatizing. The amount of bloodshed that I saw, the amount of injured people that I saw. There were these motorcycle ambulances that were trying to help as many people as they can. And the amount of destroyed property that I saw. My neighbor's house to my right was completely broken. It completely fell to the ground. And I remember that she's an old lady. She was always inside of that house. Her son lived in that house and she also had a dog. So I was wondering what happened. I didn't see the dog. I didn't hear any movement and their house was completely broken in. And my neighbors to the left, they had a house up on the hill and the house tumbled all the way down the hill. Now, if you want a story time on how everything went directly after the earthquake, then I can do that. Because at the time, a lot of us were actually forced to sleep outside. So the lugaus, the witches, the demons, they were going absolutely insane. So I got stories for y'all. Now, this is how I know I escaped death. So a week after the earthquake, my parents decided that it was no longer safe for me to stay in Port-au-Prince and that I had to leave Port-au-Prince and go to a different side of Haiti. We drove through the streets of Haiti, and that's when I realized the real damage that the earthquake had actually caused. Because when we got to my school, the side that I would have been on, the side that my class was on in the building, had completely shattered to the ground. So hadn't my bus driver picked me up early from school, I would have still been in the school when the earthquake hit. And I wouldn't have made it because a lot of my classmates that were still in class did not make it. So the spirits came knocking on your door now, huh? Scary Haitian story time. Because this is so common in Haiti. I feel like, are you even a Haitian living in Haiti if you haven't encountered the spirits playing the drums that nobody else can see or hear? So this story time took place when I was in Haiti. One of my cousins came to stay with us in Port-au-Prince. We were outside, we were playing the whole day, everything was cool. And it's getting a little bit later, we're playing hide and seek and we go looking for my cousin. Like, where is she? Like, she really found a good hiding spot. Well, we did a couple rounds looking for her and we could not find her. Until something told me to go look by my neighbor's house. And there goes my cousin standing there. And y'all, she is standing there in front of my neighbor's house, looking absolutely hypnotized. She is standing there, stuck and not moving. So I'm like, what's happening over there? Automatically, I feel creeped out. Like, I'm just like, ugh. So I walk up to her and I'm like, hey girl, like, Like, what are you looking at? And she's like, you don't hear that? I'm like, girl, hear what? She's like, them. And I'm looking in front of her, and I'm like, who? She said there are 3 men in my neighbor's patio playing the drums, and they're playing it really loud. So how could I not hear it? Houston, we have a problem because I can't see them either, sis. And at this point, it's starting to creep me out. So I'm like trying to pull her away. Like, let's just go back to the house. Just go back to the house. And this girl was stuck. It was like she was under a freaking spell. Finally, she says, he's looking at me. So now all 3 of them stop playing music and are now staring at her. I can't see this shit. Then suddenly she got really, really faint and passed out. So we had to carry her back home. She was fine, but somebody in the neighbor's house ended up passing away. So I have another story actually. Though it's not as scary as the previous one, actually it depends on your definition of scary. The reason why those series of dreams were odd, because the day that my mother passed away, I had a dream about her. Actually, the same hour. So at the time, my mother was struggling with cancer, and unfortunately, she didn't make it. But I used to pray for her a lot, and just hoping and praying that she would actually get better, because I never wanted anything to happen to her. She winds up passing away on a Tuesday around midnight. I didn't know this yet, actually. I didn't actually find out about her death until 4 days later. So it's Tuesday, I fall asleep around midnight, and I remember it was so crazy because I just got sleepy out of nowhere. I was awake, I was up playing with the other kids, and I literally just passed out. And in my sleep, again, extremely vivid, in my dream, I was in what I would describe to be one of the most beautiful gardens I had ever seen. Legit, the grasses were up to your waist. The trees were ginormous. There were some beautiful flowers. The sky was crystal clear, I'd never seen before. The sun was shining. It was so vibrant, so beautiful, so peaceful. I remember I'm walking around this garden and I'm looking around and I'm mesmerized and I'm touching the grass because it's literally waist length. And off in the distance, I see a figure walking towards me. And as she gets closer to me, she starts to run, but it's a really graceful, run. Then she gets about this close, and for a second, I didn't even realize who it was. But then I looked again and I said, whoa, this is my mom. And she grabs my face and she tells me that she is so happy where she is right now. The pain, the suffering is done. She is at peace. And then she said, look at me. I'm so happy. I'm young and skinny again. Pause. My mom was overweight when she was alive. And she always wanted to be thin. So in the dream, that was a dream come true for her because she's happy. She's thin. She's young. She's beautiful. She's vibrant. These are all things that she's telling me. I'm standing there and I'm watching my mother go just running and just gracefully walking through this garden, and I'm just wow, she seems so happy. Oh, and then she mentioned that she was reunited with some of her friends, and I remember towards the end of the dream, she grabbed my face and told me that I will always be with you. And I woke up from the dream. Keep in mind, y'all, I'm 11 years old, so the way that I interpreted the dream was that, wow, all my prayers are working. God, you fuck with me. I know you fuck with me, because that means that my mom is healed. It actually means that she's no longer in pain. And I was due to come to New York to visit my mom, unbeknownst to me that she was actually on her deathbed. But I'm coming to New York with the hope and the knowing that my mother's fine. She's not sick anymore, because she told me in my dream last night. So needless to say, it was a rude awakening when I came to New York and the nurses sat me down and was like, your mother is dead. Yes, and I actually have another story time for you right now. And if you're like, girl, how do you know all these stories? After you listen to this story, it's all gonna make sense. So this story actually takes place to a little 7-year-old me in Haiti. Now, if you guys also didn't pick this up from my previous stories, I am from a Voodoo family, okay? I'm not really in contact much with my mom's side, but from my dad's side of the family, they're mostly Voodooisin, which would be people who practice voodoo but also believe in a god. If this right here is voodoo, I was born right here. This story time is about my first ever voodoo ceremony. Now, I don't know if you guys know about November 1st or January 6th in Haiti, but those days are really mysterious, mystical days. So this one actually took place November 1st. So my dad's side of the family was throwing a ceremony for their lois. And if you don't know what a loa is, it would basically be an entity that you worship. Very, very different from a lugao. It's an outside entity. That being said, I remember the whole day they were gathering animals, they were cleaning up the space, putting up decorations. This was the biggest party of the neighborhood. And it's a voodoo party. Towards the end of the night, when everybody got done preparing, there was a lot of food. There was a whole lot of liquor. It's like people, vibes, it's lit. Everybody from the neighborhood started to come. So outside, everybody was mingling. There were kids outside and there were adults outside until there was a point. Up until somebody made a public announcement and all the children had to go inside. So they got all the children, put us inside. It was a hut, not a house. So there was no front door. It was like curtains that was covering the front. So they put all of us in there and stressed to us, do not come outside. Now, if you knew me when I was a kid, I was going outside. So I'm sitting inside and it really sounds like from the outside, they're really having a good time out there. I'm sitting there, I'm talking to the other kids and the other kids are like, what do you think they're doing? And I'm like, bro, I don't know, but it sounds like the party just got started. People are screaming, people are laughing. Like it's just a lot going on top of the loud music that was already playing. So I decided enough of this. I'm not having fun inside. I'm going outside. And child, I wish I stayed my ass inside. Because then I opened the curtain, poked my head out, and y'all. So I'm looking around and it seems like there's like a circle of people, but I can't see what's going on inside of the circle. So I decided, let me just go and get a closer look. I make it to the other side of the circle and here they are, unaliving a cabrit, a goat. They are a goat in the middle of the circle. Then somebody took the blood and starts pouring it all over themselves. This is when one of my uncles who was in the circle, he pushes back exactly like this. Just like that. I'm like, what is going on? What is happening? Then the same thing happens to this lady. Then I look next to me, somebody falls. And I'm like, what is happening? The lady next to me starts crawling on the floor like a sex demon. Like she's just humping the floor. Like everybody's just dancing, losing their minds. And it's looking just absolutely freaky. You have people like gyrating. I'm like, what is happening? I look over and my father is drinking liquor, having a good time. I am petrified. Just for somebody who I guess didn't have a law, made eye contact with me and said, yo girl, you really shouldn't be out here. They grabbed my ass up and put me inside of the hut. And y'all, I did not leave that time. There was nothing out there for me and I understood why. And if you're confused as to what was happening to those people, they were basically getting possessed. If you're into story times about possession and voodoo and Haitian creepy stories, this might be the story time for you. This story is about my grandmother. She was a huge fanatic of voodoo before she gave it all up. So let's get into it. So like my grandmother, she used to be heavily into this. Okay, like she does this. All right. People used to come to her for like, you know, solutions or, you know, medications. I guess if you want to call them spells, you can call them spells. But yes, my grandmother was heavily involved, so much so that she had her own laws, which would have been Erzeli and Gede. If you don't know them, I would just say look them up. And let me just clarify. I guess you would just call them jab, but I don't know the real actual definition of what a demon is because like he never actually did nothing bad. Anyway, the demon was called Kuze Zakamakut. So basically, a lot of the times when my grandmother would perform a lot of the rituals that she would perform or whatever spells that she would do or ceremonies, I don't know all of it. It wasn't actually her performing them. It was actually either one of the lois or Cousin Zakamakut. So for example, people would come to her and help with medicine and Zakamakut would take over her and would be the one to perform whatever needs to be performed, would put the herbs together, find whatever needs to be found. My grandmother, I guess you would say, has done a lot of wild stuff under possession because, like, the spirits, once they do take over, like, they have a different appetite, okay? Gede is basically the law or the spirit that transitions people into the afterlife, I guess. He's in the crossroads, something like that. When he would take over, so when he would possess my grandma, she was doing the wildest stuff. Y'all, I have never personally witnessed some of these, but I was talking to my aunt recently, and these are some of the things that she's done under his possession. He loves liquor, okay, and he loves cigars, cigarettes, so my grandmother would just smoke like cigarettes, like packs at a ton, okay, and then just drink like crazy. It was such a fan of the liquor that it would pour the liquor all over, well, I guess my grandmother, it would pour it all over her, and even into her private area and like rub it in, okay? He also likes scotch bonnets, so like peppers. So he would take the peppers, rub it in her private areas, and all of this all over her as well. She would walk on fire. She would also stand on her head and also like walk on top of her head. And she would also eat glass. Now, I swear if I could just pass y'all the phone to talk to my family, because they still live out there and they still experience a whole lot of this, and a lot of them are still involved in this lifestyle. If I could just get y'all to talk to them. I know a lot of this stuff sounds so unbelievable and so crazy, but like, I swear, y'all, like, this stuff happens, and I am a direct descendant of that. So I lived in Haiti up until I was 11, so I've seen a lot and I've also experienced a lot to know that, listen, you don't have to be scared of a dog for it to bite you. I have a creepy story. Actually, I'm thinking about calling this series Surviving La Kukai Job or The Mysteries of La Kukai Job. But let's get into it. So if you're new here, then you probably don't know that my family grew up on a land called La Kukai Job. And La Kukai Job, the direct translation is yard/house of demons. So this was located in a place called Saint-Roch in Haiti. That's where my father's side of the family is from. In Haiti, we call Saint-Roch en dehors because it's outside of the city. It's lots of trees. Like, the houses aren't as advanced as the ones in the city. There's not as many cars. They don't really have roads. It's like up in the mountains with a lot of nature, trees, animals, and all of that good stuff, and waterfalls too. So I guess at some point in his life, my grandfather decided to buy land. And my family, again, they're no stranger to voodoo, so just keep that in mind as I tell this story. At some point in his life, my grandfather bought this land, and like, he knew what it was called. And in Haiti, like, we don't play that, you know what I mean? The name itself is very telling, but my grandfather, I guess he believed he was a bigger problem. These demons had nothing on him. So he got the land, and I understood that it was a contract that was made between the demons that owned the land and my grandfather to stay on that land. It was some sort of agreement. The thing is about anywhere in Haiti that's like up in the mountains or in the forest, expect some freaky shit to go on. Expect to see a lugao. Expect to see something that you weren't supposed to see. And the thing is, they all come out at night. It never fails. Now that you know that this is the norm for forests in Haiti, now imagine, right? Now that you know the regular forest out there is already freaky. Now add a house of demons in the middle of the freakiness that's already going on. So this was my haunting. Now this would have been my first time going and staying the night. Now on my way there, my father gave me a lot of warnings, okay? He told me that this land is not to be played with, like there's a lot of freakiness going around. So like, you know, cross your T's and dot your I's. Like, don't do too much. And he's warning me, like, if you hear your name being called, you better confirm that somebody actually said your name before you answer. And you know, chickens are also like the first animals to go to sleep and the first ones to wake up. So if it's like 1 a.m. and you're hearing a chicken outside singing, it ain't a damn chicken. Mind your business and do not look outside the window at night. And also, you don't see shit. I don't care what you think you saw. You did not see it. And also, you know, keep the family's business to yourself, because I know you, listen, I always like to run my mouth. So they definitely had to give me this warning. Keep your mouth shut and stay close to the house. A lot of rules in it. And as he's telling me all of this, I'm just like, ain't none of this shit gonna happen. Then my grandfather winds up meeting us along the way, and he starts telling me the exact same thing. So I'm like, okay, I don't think this is a joke. So okay, fine. And you get down there, and the thing is about when you get to La Kukai Job, you can sense that you're not alone. But the thing is, it didn't really feel like a bad vibe to me necessarily. It just felt like there's a lot going on here and somebody's watching me. The first few things that I do remember is broad daylight, seeing things like clearly run across my peripheral. And I would turn my head and it would be gone. Or somebody would like tap on my shoulder and I would turn and there's no one behind me. Again, these are not things that I really thought much of because it was nothing concrete. And mind you, at that point, I had never been to Saint-Roch before or La Kukai Job. But I remember instantly befriending something. Again, never been there in my life, but I would leave the house, go wander around, and I remember the entire time I'm walking around Saint-Roch, like I had somebody or something with me because I would be talking the whole time. Like I would be communicating the whole entire time. I would get to wherever, because where would I actually need to go? But I would get to wherever and then turn around and make it back home just in time before sundown. And again, whole time I was accompanied by someone. I don't remember that someone or somebody even actually physically being there with me. But I remember I was never alone because I was always talking to something, and that thing was constantly telling me where to go. Also, you never want to be caught outside after sundown in Haiti. So like that night one, after my little adventure, I went to sleep. Or I tried going to sleep. So where my bed was, there was a window. So just like that. Window right here, laying right here. I feel something come to the window and start scratching at the window. Now keep in mind, I could reach out and touch the window. I'm hearing scratching noises, and then it starts to intensify. And then the galloping was so loud. It's as though like a bunch of animals are just like speed or like bum rushing the house that we're staying in. Again, nobody in the house is saying nothing. Actually, nobody's even moving. It seems like everybody's just sleeping, minding their own business, and I'm just up. The galloping are like intensifying until I hear footsteps walk towards the window, and then the galloping stops. Everything just stops and then went quiet. So the scratching stops, the galloping stopped, the footstep got to my window and just stopped. So I could feel something on the other side of that window just standing there. And if there wasn't a curtain covering the window, I would feel like that thing is watching me. I still felt like whatever that thing was watching me. Then I start to hear adjustment. So like, it's as though this figure was wearing leather or something, because like when it moved, I could hear its body like making that crunchy sound. It's as though the motherfucker was standing and then he just kneeled, so I can hear him crouching. Then I start to hear. And at this point, y'all, I like freaked out is not even the word. Like petrified is not the word. It's not the word, because nobody around me is like moving or doing anything. So I'm trying to wake people up and nobody wants to move. Like I try to wake up my cousin and she's just like, girl, like leave me alone. And it's important to keep in mind that nobody that was staying in that house had sleep paralysis except for one person. So everybody could hear me freaking around and tapping around trying to get people to wake up. They just purposely ignored me. So at this point, I'm really just under the covers, scared as fuck, just trying to focus on my cousin's body heat because we were sharing the bed. So then why the fuck the tapping stops, and then I hear Neila. That's my name. And it sounds so close. Then I hear my grandfather's voice, just casually just having a conversation with somebody outside. And then my grandfather calls me, Neila! At this point, this is sounding very convincing because, like, that was my grandfather's voice. So I went to go get up, and all I feel was my cousin next to me just go. She didn't even say nothing, y'all. She just... And then I laid there, stared at the ceiling, and then eventually I fell asleep. The next morning, I asked my grandfather what he was doing outside that late. My grandfather says I wasn't even in this particular part of this neighborhood yesterday. Plus, what the hell do you think I'd be doing outside at 1 a.m? So I'm like, so you weren't outside by the window calling me? Warn me. Oh, okay. And I explained a little bit of what I endured last night, and everybody just laughed at me. They were like, well, who told you to stay up that late? It's your fault. And then this one guy was like, yeah, I had sleep paralysis. This kind of happens here. Everybody was just like, yeah, you know, just try to go to sleep early next time. And they were like, well, good thing you knew better and didn't answer when you heard your name being called, cause utaptula. Okay. And that was the worst night I had there. The haunting didn't stop, but it definitely subsided after that, at least for me. So I told my story all in one part, so if you made it to the end, go ahead and leave a comment so I know that you're fucking with this series already. I'll be using one of your comments to reply for the next video. Next would be either my uncle's story staying there or just a random person stopping by. Thank you for watching. Yeah, this one's really short, but I got another story. Still creepy though. This one took place once again while he was patrolling the streets of Port-au-Prince. Oh yeah, this is my uncle's story. This time, he was actually alone. He was by himself in the police car, and he's just, you know, watching the streets, making sure nothing crazy is going on. Well, something extremely crazy was about to go on. So again, he's looking out his car, and he notices a woman walking towards him. This one is a regular woman. There's nothing too crazy about her, except the closer she comes, the crazier it gets. So this woman appears to have something on her head, so she's holding it with that one hand. And with her other hand, she's holding, it wasn't a lamp or a candle or anything. It was basically like a torch, but it was like inside of a container. So like the fire was contained inside of like this container, I guess. So picture this, a torch that's on fire that is inside of a metal bucket. She's holding on to the metal burning bucket with one hand, and she has the other hand on her head holding something. She was on the same side of the street that my uncle's car was parked, so she's walking towards the car. Boom, she gets to the front of the car and she starts crossing the street. So my uncle is still trying to figure out, how is she holding the fire like that? And as my uncle is watching this woman cross the street, he notices that the bucket that was holding the fire, it's like drops of fire are like falling on top of her feet. She's walking and there's just fire just falling on top of her foot. And this woman was completely unfazed. She was walking so normal, like the fire literally did not faze her at all. And my uncle was just looking at her like, what the fuck? Then she turns around and looks at my uncle, and everything around him just went black. Like he could not see within more than 2 feet in front of him. Because like I said, everything was black and the wind just started. So he's inside of his car and he just cannot see shit. And all he's hearing is the wind just gushing outside. Until the lady passed, so did the darkness. It just went away completely. And my uncle was like, well, all right, just another day patrolling the streets of Haiti. This one encounter that I had actually scared me to my core. This was the one that actually traumatized me because these were the most evil spirits that I have ever encountered. I was basically tortured in my sleep while I was lucid. So I go to Myrtle Beach, and you guys, every single time I go to the South, I kid you not, something terrible happens. I remember I was going to Myrtle Beach for a 4th of July event, and I had a friend that I met in college in New York City, but she actually lived in Myrtle Beach. So she invited me to Myrtle Beach. Her parents paid for my ticket, my flight from New York City to Myrtle Beach to go celebrate with them for the 4th of July weekend. Now, we're going to call this girl Miley. Now, but we were real cool, okay? We vibed. We were like, I was so cool with her that I was down to go to Myrtle Beach for an entire weekend with her and her family, you know? So her mother bought me the ticket, and y'all, my father didn't even want me to go. But I made up some whole story and I winded up going. Like, I told my father when I boarded the freaking flight that I was going to freaking Myrtle Beach. And at the time, I was 19. And mind y'all, I am so excited to go on this trip because I'm not paying for anything. I'm not paying for no flight. I'm not paying for accommodation, nothing. I am accommodated for. I am excited. I am ready to go. But y'all, nothing could have prepared me for what the fuck I went through. First night I get there, I'm creeped the fuck out. Like, it's just something in the atmosphere that just feels thick. That's the best way to put it. And I would talk to Miley. I'd be like, hey girl, like, do you ever feel like, you know, this area might be haunted? And Miley would be like, girl, like, we would hear stories here and there, but like nothing too crazy. Like, I've never experienced anything. So in Myrtle Beach, right, when it gets dark, it gets pitch black outside. But the crazy thing is that feeling I was feeling, y'all, I was even feeling it during the day, during broad daylight. I love nature. I love to go outside, be with the trees. Like, I'm a freaking tree hugger. But y'all, nothing about the energy in Myrtle Beach felt welcoming. Nothing about that forest said, come in. Like, all of it just felt extremely ugh. Despite what I was feeling, I still wanted to enjoy my trip. So I would go on to do that. First day, nothing happened. It was just a creepy feeling. Second day, the creepy feeling kind of intensified, but nothing happened either. And I think that the 4th of July party happened on day 2. And keep in mind, this is only a 4-day trip. Day 2, 4th of July party, I get wasted, drunk, I passed out. Like, I was drinking moonshine, y'all. I was gone. So I wake up day 3, and this is the day before I'm supposed to leave. And this is when the trip went to hell. So day 3, I got over my hangover. What? Wild. Before I was rudely interrupted. So it's day 3. I'm trying to get over this hangover, right? And then I finally do, and Miley takes me out to eat, and we get back to the house. And honestly, at this point, I am kind of over this trip, and I'm ready to go home. So we go to sleep pretty early. We had a pretty early night, and this is where the tormenting began. So boom, I fall asleep, but I don't notice that I'm sleeping, right? So I see that I'm sitting downstairs. So the rooms were located upstairs, and they had a downstairs area. So I'm sitting in the living room downstairs, and it's pitch black. Like, it gets pitch black, and automatically I get freaked out. So I'm like, oh, let me just run upstairs. Let me just make it to Miley's room as fast as possible. So I start booking it upstairs. Now, all of this feels very real. But as I'm running upstairs, I can hear something behind me. And my heart's going pity pata, pity pata. So I start picking up my pace to make it upstairs to the room. And I can feel whatever it is behind me. Now it's more of them, because I'm hearing them laugh. And it sounds like demons. So whatever I do, don't turn around. Just keep going upstairs and make it to the freaking room. I finally make it upstairs, try to get inside of the room. The door is locked. I have nowhere to go. Every door in this upstairs house is closed. And when I tell you, I could not tell that this was a dream, because everything about the house looked the same. Every single door, every exit, everything in that house was the same, bro. So I'm in there not knowing that I'm dreaming at this moment. And I start to turn around and I see three, I don't even know how to describe them. Three creatures, like they're skinny arms, skinny legs, and they're just crawling up the steps to come at me. So I start screaming and I start knocking on all the doors, but nobody is coming out to help me. In that moment, it starts to dawn on me, wait a minute, maybe I'm dreaming. And the second I had that thought, I respawned back downstairs in the living room, sitting on the couch. So now I'm back downstairs, sitting on the couch, having the same thought. I must get upstairs to the room as quick as possible. So I would go on to repeat exactly what I just explained to you guys, trying to run up the steps. Then I hear something behind me. Then it intensifies. I get upstairs. The rooms are locked and I freak out and I see three creatures crawling up the steps and coming at me. But this time it's more than three creatures. It dawns on me. It's a dream and I respawn again. So I'm running away from these creatures and they're laughing and they're telling me, get the fuck out of here. Get out of here. We don't want you here. You need to leave. And I'm running upstairs and I'm crying and I'm knocking and I'm begging somebody, please help me. So at this point, I'm like, it's a dream. It's a freaking dream. Just wake the fuck up. And I respawn back. But this time I respawn to the steps. So now at this point, I'm at the steps. I'm running again, really terrified. And I don't know what the fuck is going on. Why do I keep reliving this thing? Like, this is my 5th time reliving this. Like, I just want to wake up. And as I'm freaking out, the dream starts again. I am sitting on the couch about to go upstairs. But this time I said, no, this is a freaking dream. I don't care if they come to you and they're torturing you. You have to wake up. So I sit there. I'm sitting there and I'm just rocking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then boom, I'm back on the bed. So now this time I'm back on the bed. I open my eyes and I see that Miley is sleeping next to me. And I am rejoiced that I woke up. And I remember I was so scared that I moved in closer to go cuddle with Miley. So as I'm doing that, I look up and her door was open. Like, I'm pretty sure that dream is why I don't like cracked doors. So it's cracked and I'm trying to look, but it's pitch black out there. And out of the darkness emerges one of the demons that was just fucking chasing me. When I tell y'all retelling this story is literally taking me back to the horror that I was experiencing that night. The freaking demon reappears and then more of them reappears. And they're trying to come inside of the room, but it seems like something is blocking them. So at this point, I'm trying to wake up Miley and she does wake up. And I'm like, yo, Miley, I'm trying to tell her about the dream I just had. Like, you have to help me. I am freaking the fuck out. These spirits, these demons, they're chasing me in your house. You have to do something. You have to help me. I am petrified. And Miley looks at me dead in my eye and tells me, I cannot help you. You are on your own. And turns her back to me. And I remember, as petrified as I was, I sat up and I'm like, I have to face this. And everything in my body is shaking and I'm terrified. And I remember just screaming out saying, listen, I'm gonna be out of here tomorrow. You guys are gonna get what you want. I promise you I won't ever come back here. I will leave tomorrow. Like, my flight is tomorrow. Just leave me alone for tonight. And I remember I tried to like lay back down to try to go back to sleep because they started disappearing. And all of a sudden I'm conscious again. I don't remember falling asleep, nor do I remember waking up. All of that felt very real, and it felt very lucid. The only thing that made me realize that that was a dream was I was in the bed and I wasn't actually being chased up the steps. I was like, was I dreaming? But y'all, it felt so real that I couldn't believe that it was a dream. So much so that when Miley woke up in the morning, I asked her, I said, did you see anything weird last night? What time did you fall asleep? What did you wake up throughout the night? Did you see anything? Like, did I leave the bed? Like, I'm really questioning this girl. And she said, nope, we fell asleep around 10 and I woke up today around 9. That was it. And in that moment, I realized, wow, all of it was a dream. But it felt so real. I actually feel bad to the guy that this happened to because this one's actually pretty crazy. So for whatever reason, my grandfather thought it would be a brilliant idea to buy this land called the House/Yard of Demons. And these are their stories. These are their hauntings. Dun dun. Now, everybody who's ever stepped foot in this land, whether you are family, whether you are a stranger visiting, you know that there's something wrong or something just not right about this land. You never feel alone. It's really odd, and the feelings and everything intensifies the darker it gets. So by the time it gets 12 a.m., there are full-on walking creatures outside. There are lugauts outside. There are monsters, ghouls. Every single thing is outside because it gets pitch black out in Haiti. So in Haiti, people travel by foot. For example, my grandfather would walk from Saint-Roch to Fontamara, which is a good 6-hour walk, like every Friday to come bring us produce. So it's very common for people to take long journey walks, like a walk that might take you 3 days to complete. So we'll call this guy that this happened to Johnny. So let's say Johnny was going right here. Saint-Roch is right here. The House/Yard of Demons is right here, and the place that he has to go to is right here. But in distance, it's actually pretty long. So he would have a good 4-hour walk left to do to get to this side of town. So, you know, he's coming from Port-au-Prince and he's walking on the air and he gets to Saint-Roch. Now, Saint-Roch would have been his very first stop. So he knows the family, he knows my grandfather. So he decided, hey, I'll just take a pit stop here. I'll stay the night and everything because it's getting darker than I expected, and he did not want to be caught out in the dark in Haiti. He asked my grandfather if he could stay for the night, and by morning time he would be well on his way to continue his journey. To which my grandfather would say, yes, of course, you can stay. You can stay. And my grandfather definitely gave him a little warning, like, hey, things get a little weird here at night, so just keep that in mind. Obviously, my grandfather was talking to another Haitian man who's seen a lot. So he's like, that ain't nothing. Let me tell you, you do not underestimate them demons. So now it's sunset and nothing really crazy is happening yet. Cause like I said, it's really not too dark outside. I mean, there is that like feeling of like I'm a little creeped out. But besides that, nothing crazy is happening. 10 p.m., 11 p.m. is getting darker and darker and nothing happens. And this is actually very surprising to my granddad because those demons are not friendly to outside people. If you're not a part of the freaking Charles family, it will fucking torment you. So everybody's just like, yo, this guy must have God on his side because like it's approaching 11 and nothing's happening yet. Like wild. So much so that everybody comfortably fell asleep in the house. Well, around 2-3 a.m. when everybody was asleep, them demons came knocking. While he's asleep, he wakes up because he felt like while he was sleeping, something was on top of him, breathing on him. So he woke up to see like, yo, what is going on? But of course, when he got up, nothing's there. So he would proceed on trying to go back to sleep. This is really when his taunting began because everybody else was asleep. So it was just him and those demons, okay? So of course they start with the calling his name. And of course he feels like there's multiple people whispering his name from like different sides of the room. So obviously he's freaked out. Of course the scratching and the footsteps outside, hearing freaking chickens at 3 a.m. Cocorico, and you know that ain't no goddamn chicken. You know, just the regular haunting stuff. And keep in mind, it is pitch black. To add on to this terrifying situation, there's no light anywhere. Dude actually did an excellent job at blocking out like everything that they were doing, so much so that he started drifting back to sleep. And that's when things intensified. Because the second time he tried to go back to sleep, he felt something slap him. So he jumps out of his sleep. And I don't know if this ever happens to any of y'all, but it's a very freaky feeling to get slapped or hit when you're sleeping. So he's like, what the hell? He starts looking around the room again. You can't really see anything. It's pitch black. So he lays back down. But now he feels like there's something sitting on his chest, holding him down to the floor. So as he is pinned to the ground. Now, again, this sounds really freaky. But again, just bear with me, eh? As he is pinned to the ground, something else just starts beating his ass. Yes, bro, this motherfucker is on the floor catching strays right now. He can't move. He can't get up because he's being held down. His tormenting went on from about 2 a.m. to about 4 a.m. Anytime he would try to like drift asleep, he would get beat again. He wound up staying up until sunup. Bruh, the minute it got bright outside, son, he was out. He ran out of our property. This motherfucker was up with the chickens. Like, it's not very often you see a Haitian man with, you know, his stuff on his back just running, like frantically running at 4:30 a.m. And the rest of my family woke up and they were like, yo, what the hell happened to him? He got to where he was going, but then winded up telling everybody, like, yo, if you know what's good for you, you will not go to the Charles land. Like, I don't know what they got going on over there, but they gotta be some devil worshippers. This guy literally had scratches on his physical body, and it's always much worse when you get beat up by other spirits or entities because it can cause chronic pain. He was in pretty bad pain for a while, so... If this is your first video, hey guys, I'm Alien. I tell my business on this page. I tell drama stories and I tell creepy stories. So if you are enjoying these story times, make sure you leave a comment telling me that, yo, I fucks with this so that I know you fuck with it so I could drop more. And then on top of that, make sure you leave me a follow on TikTok and on Instagram. Until next time. I wasn't gonna drop this story yet, but I'm lit, so let's do it. This one is my haunting in Cape Coral. So me and my friends back in 2019, and mind you, I told this story on my page before, we decided to go to Cape Coral, Florida. Now, I let my homegirl, we're going to call her Marilyn. At the time, I let her plan absolutely everything. She planned the Airbnb. She planned the locations that we'd be visiting, the activities we'd be doing. I mean, she planned absolutely everything. And on this trip was Marilyn and this girl that she was slapping at the time, if you know what I mean. We're gonna call this girl Cam. Now, we all went to Cape Coral for spring break vacation, and I swear to God, if my iCloud kept everything, I would have a video diary of that night. But that happened so long ago, and I don't think I would still have it. So, spring break vacation, we all excited. We landed in Miami. I guess, well, a little bit off of Miami because we were in Cape Coral. Now, as soon as we get there, it's like a deserted neighborhood, but the house was beautiful, okay? We had a back pool, the environment, everything seemed absolutely beautiful. But something about that neighborhood was absolutely off because when I tell you, me, Marilyn, and Cam felt something wrong. Now, mind you, Cam is a girl. We're all girls. Now, day one that we landed pretty early. We had plans for that day. For whatever reason, you guys, we didn't feel like doing absolutely anything. Like, our energy was down. We didn't want to do shit. We even went to the store. We copped liquor. We drank it. And why the liquor not working? It's like niggas is not getting drunk. Nothing is working. It was such a strange stay because day one would go by. We didn't do anything. Day two came around. We wanted to go to a water park. It was closed. So we winded up staying in the house and just going to the pool and talking to each other. And the whole time, we're just like, yo, this is so weird. This is so lame. Whole time on the trip, all we could talk about for day one, day two, day three was Black Lives Matter. It was about activism. It was about racism in the South. It was about dead people. And mind you, Marilyn was not a very deep girl. So we're all having this intellectual conversation. We're like, bro, we're on vacation. Why are we talking about this right now? This is all going to make sense in a minute. Stick around. The day before we were supposed to leave, that's when everything turned upside down. Now, we were only there for 5 days. So we didn't really do nothing all trip. Last day before we were supposed to leave, we all sat in the swimming pool and we were all just talking. And mind you, we were talking about the dead. We were talking about my deceased mother. And I was talking about how I still feel her energy sometimes still around me. And we were just talking about creepy stories that we've all experienced. Because Marilyn was from Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic. So she had a few stories of her own. And Cam, too, was Haitian. So we were all sharing our creepy stories. We're all by the pool talking about creepy stories, ghosts, and all that good stuff. And then we all decided, you know, it's our last day here. Why don't we all just go to a restaurant and enjoy our good day? This is our final day. We fly back to New York tomorrow. Let's just enjoy today. So we all go inside, get in the shower to go get ready. Our reservation for this restaurant wasn't until 8 o'clock. Now, this is when the creepiness kicks in. Now, I'm in the shower and automatically I feel watch. How am I in the shower by myself and I feel like somebody or something is watching me? Like I close my eyes and I feel like I need to open them right away because I feel presences in the shower with me. Now, because I was just by the pool talking about my mother, I chalked it up to my mother's spirit being around me, but nah. This one felt different, and I actually felt this energy all trip, but this was the most intense I was feeling it, and I was in the shower getting ready so me and my friends can go out to a restaurant to enjoy our last day of this vacation. Now, before I go in, I need to tell y'all how this house was set up, and keep that in mind. Now, this was a big house, and it was kind of divided into two parts. So on this side of the house were 2 rooms, and on that side of the house was the master bedroom. But on that side of the house, you had to walk past the living room and past the kitchen to get to the next side of the house. So it wasn't exactly separated, but the kitchen and the living room being so huge made it seem like a separation. So 2 rooms on that side of the house and the master bedroom on this side. Now, Marilyn and Cam decided to stay on the master bedroom because they were slapping, if you know what I mean. Now, Marilyn and Cam decided to stay on that other side of the house because obviously they wanted to stay together. Now, I get out of the bathroom and I go to my little room and I start getting ready. Now, this is when things turned upside down. And the funny thing is, I don't even fuck with Marilyn and Cam anymore, but they can tell you I'm not fucking lying. Now, as I was getting ready, I had all the lights on because, like I said, I felt creeped out already. Now, while I'm getting ready, completely shirtless, and I could see the light in my room turning on and off. Not only can I see the light turning on and off, but I can hear the switch of the lights turning themselves on and off. Now I'm freaked out because I already felt like something was off. So what the fuck is this? The lights flickered and I'm by myself, but I'm not trying to make anything of it because Marilyn and Cam were on the other side of the house. So I'm just like, maybe it's electrical problems. It wasn't, because the garage door that was next to my room unlocked itself. And I'm like, is somebody coming into this Airbnb? So I go out there to look at the garage door and it locks itself by itself. Nobody's there, and it just... At that point, I was frozen with fear. I'm really not gonna lie. So I'm like, okay, at this point, just go find Marilyn and Cam. So I turn around to go find Marilyn and Cam. And at this point, I walk past the kitchen and stuff in the kitchen, like the lights in the kitchen are turning itself on and off. And at this point, I'm walking past the living room and the blinds in the living room are like, phew, as if there's wind in the house. There's no wind in the house. So there's nothing that, the blinds should not be moving. So I run to Cam and Marilyn's room and I start just frantically knocking on the door like, guys, let me in, like I'm freaking out. Their door was freaking locked. And I'm just like, yo, let me in. Meanwhile, the blinds are wilding, like there's wind in the house. The lights are flickering and I'm just like, guys, there's something going on. Let me in. And I can hear from the other side of the door, Marilyn and Cam just laughing their asses off. This is not a joke. It's not a drill. Let me in! Cam yells out, Nayla, I'm in the middle of slapping cheeks right now, so if you could just come back later. And I'm like, bitch, I cannot come back later. Open this door. So Marilyn, all calm, just get up and opens the door. And she's like, Nayla, what do you need? And I'm like, bitch, the house is haunted. There's a ghost in this bitch. While I'm getting ready, lights are flickering on and off, garage door is unlocking and locking itself, so I'm explaining everything that I just went through to Marilyn. And Cam is on the bed, underneath the blanket, like, what is she talking about? None of them believe me, so I run inside the room frantically telling them, y'all, this house is haunted, I swear to God. I explained to Marilyn the lights flicking on and off, and she's like, girl, you know this is Miami, so like lights, like electrical issues go on all the time. I don't think you're actually seeing what you thought you were seeing. I explained the blind situation. Nobody is believing me. They're all looking at me like I got 7 heads. It is as though I was crazy. Then Marilyn decides, this is crazy. You're disturbing me from my nut. I'm gonna go take a shower. Marilyn goes to the shower. Now it's me and Cam left in the room. Mind you, when I came inside of the room, I left the door open. While the door slowly closed itself, and when it got really close to the knob, it slammed closed. I jumped on that bed under the covers with Cam. Cam is naked under those covers and I'm topless. I don't give a fuck because I'm petrified. I am under those covers with her so quick. So I'm looking at Cam like, you see what I'm talking about? The door just closed. No, the door just slammed by itself. And Cam is just like Cam was not really a talkative person. She liked to absorb the moment and then say her opinion. After she absorbed the moment, she said, yeah. That was absolutely insane. In the calmest voice ever. Now, Marilyn is taking a lovely shower while me and Kim are petrified, horrified, underneath the blanket. And at that point, I'm so glad that happened because none of them believe me. At this point, I'm looking at Kim like, do you see what I'm telling you? This house is freaking haunted. Kim is not saying anything. She's like, I'm honestly just trying to process what's happening around me right now. We kept the door closed because we didn't even want to leave that room. Now, Marilyn comes out of the bathroom. Now, the bathroom was inside of the master's bedroom, so she comes out and joins us, and Kim is telling her, no, babe, like, the house is actually haunted. Marilyn is like, you guys are both stupid. What are you talking about? We went on to tell her what we just experienced, and Marilyn is like, you guys are both being ridiculous. Marilyn walks to the door, opens the door by herself, and now the blinds in the living room just start phew, phew. Lights in the kitchen just start switching on and off. Cups on the counter. That's how true it is. Cups on the counter just starts falling off of the counter. And at this point, Maryland is sold. This house is haunted and we have to get out of here tonight. Now here goes Cam talking to these freaking spirits, talking about some, guys, I swear we're gonna leave the house. We're gonna leave tonight. We're trying to find a place to stay. Just please don't kill us. So now we're like, okay, we can't leave each other alone. We have to travel together. So Kim still had to get in the shower. Me and Marilyn like literally got in the bathroom with Cam so she could get in the shower. Because we all were horrified that anything could happen to us. While Kim is in the shower, things are still wilding. Doors are opening and closing by themselves. Lights are flickering on and off. We're standing outside the shower waiting for Cam because we're all scared to be by ourselves. And finally, thank God we had money because we decided we're just gonna ditch this Airbnb and go to center of Miami. And if I'm not mistaken, that was 2 hours away from Cape Coral. I did some research on that land. I learned that this was a massacreville and that this was extremely haunted because hundreds and thousands of black folks were unalived during slavery times.